What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the TACBox Podcast. We are on episode 49, and we got an awesome episode for you today. We've been working on getting something like this put together. So we got two AKC judges with us, two exhibitors with us for this episode, and we're going to hit them up with the hard questions that we all want to know from an exhibitor standpoint, a judge standpoint, maybe how judging can change a breed direction. But before we dive into all the tough, fun questions and get this episode rolling, I'm going to check in with Dale over here, and then we're going to have Scott introduce himself a little bit. So how you doing, Dale?
Man, I'm good. It's good to see two of my favorite people. So, this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully Jane didn't hear that. I don't want her to get a little bit jealous of us, but
Right. Yeah.
She gets next week. So
That's
Jane will be
right.
on the 50th next week, which is awesome. I got that lined up. But so we have Scott Toney on here with us. I met you last year at the National in North Carolina. We got to speak for a little bit and hang out. Got to watch you exhibit. I've never watched you judge in person, but I've got to watch you exhibit your dog and do some good wins there. So can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you got into dogs, just your journey into dogs and judging in general?
Yeah, so thanks for having me here. This is sort of like the highlight of my week. I've really been looking forward to it. And I have to congratulate you, Tyson. You've done a lot of winning since I first met you at the National. In a short amount of time, you and your family have really started making an impact. So congrats. As far as my background, as kids, I come from a family of six. I'm the youngest of six, and we had every kind of animal you could imagine: dogs, fish, snakes, pigeons. And when we had dogs, my dad always sort of gravitated towards quality. So we had poodles, but we had show poodles, but as pets. So they came from a show home, had German shepherds. And I was familiar with growing up with a family that loved animals and liked quality animals. And I remember watching Westminster in 1982. And there was a Pekingese, St. Aubrey Dragonora of Elsdon, very famous. She won Best in Show that year. And I'm like, I want to show dogs and I want to coded breeds. That's how I got into breeding and exhibiting. We had a neighbor. I was so lucky to have Marion Knowlton. This is in 82. 40 something years ago. Marion Knowlton lived a block away from us, and she had Knollwood Lhasa Apsos, a famous kennel, bred hundreds of champions, or probably a couple hundred champions, best in show dogs, number one dogs. And she took me in, and she was my mentor. And I remember she would go to England, and I would be so excited to be entrusted to watch her animals. And, this was a real kennel, probably 40, 50 dogs. And I would work so hard to clean and mop and groom the dogs. And she taught me how to wrap dogs back then. And I just wanted her to be proud when she got home. I remember at the time being too insecure and too shy to show. So I wanted to be behind the scenes. So even though we co-owned some dogs, we bred some litters together, I never showed, but it was a great starting point for me to get into exhibiting and breeding.
So when did you start showing then? Like how long have you been
I
showing?
didn't, the first time I entered the ring with me handling instead of a handler taking one of the dogs was 2003. So 23 years ago.
And then how'd you get into wanting to do the judging side of it?
I judged a match in 2008 for the Japanese Chin Club of the Carolinas, and it was one of the final requirements for our club to be able to award points at a true specialty show. And I liked it. It was fine. I was comfortable doing it. And I got asked to judge a couple of more matches, and I was like, this is kind of fun. And this is something I might want to do as I get older and retire and exhibit less and breed less. So that was sort of the genesis of it all.
It's kind of crazy how it just happens. It just kind of just falls in one step at a time, falls into place.
Yep.
All right. Are we ready for some questions? We can
Well,
dig into
and
some questions.
let me throw in one thing. Scott is already at a multi-group level, which is like he's been crazy successful. He's gotten to do nationals, and he's been very in demand and stuff because he's done a really great job with that. So kudos to him. That's a pretty admirable thing, because usually it takes years and years and years and years and years, and he's kind of like shot on along.
Hey, that's a good thing.
It is a good
that's
thing.
awesome.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, that's like I mean, that's like an accomplishment as a judge, right? When you get like invited to judge a national for a breed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's like, okay, perfect. All right. So we got, I spent, I slaved away for, 48 hours straight, didn't go to bed, coming up with awesome questions to ask you guys from a judge's perspective
20
and an
minutes on
exhibitor.
Chat GPT.
Yeah. Yeah, really. We got some good questions. We might not get to them all, but these are some of the things that our listeners want to know and hear from a judge's perspective, as well as an exhibitor's. But on the judging aspect, and then we'll have both of you guys answer this question. We'll just start with Scott on all the questions, and then Dale can steal all his answers. So that's
Thanks.
part of being.
I can go,
I can clean up my mistakes.
same.
Yeah. All right. So, Scott, when judging, what are the first three things that you're evaluating when an exhibitor enters the ring?
Yeah, so the first three things are going to be immediately the outline and the shape of the dog. A lot of very famous and old time judges and educators will tell you that you should be able to tell a breed of a dog just by the silhouette. If you just saw like a shadowed silhouette of a dog. So outline and shape. So for example, a chin, I'm looking for that short body, it's square, tail over the back, the moderate neck arching into the shoulders and the top line. And second, I'm getting my first sort of glimpse into the temperament of the dog, because the way that the dog carries itself when it walks into the ring tells me, is the head up? Is it confident? Is if it's a dog that is supposed to have a tail over the back, is the tail over the back? As they start into the third thing that I'm looking at, the movement as they're going around the ring and making their way to the table, I'm getting an idea more so of side gait because I haven't seen a down and back yet, but I'm getting an idea of movement. I'm getting an idea of shape. And then again, the temperament. Let's say it's a Chihuahua. I'm going to see that saucy, outgoing terrier temperament. I should see that when they first enter the ring and they're moving around.
Awesome. What about you, Dale? What are your three?
You remember like when you were kids and probably in school when they would do the outline of the kids in black, where they would be like the little black cutout and it'd be your kid's profile. My parents like hung them up in the hallway. That's your outline, just kind of like in black, where you're not really looking at markings, you're really not looking at hair, you're just looking at the shape of the dog. And then of course, like I like them to go around one at a time because first off, I'm gonna see if anybody's limping, if there's a any kind of a lameness issue, and then I want to see the carriage and the silhouette going around without really looking at the markings and all of that stuff at that point on party color breeds or like that. Just kind of see how it goes, and of course, just as Scott was saying, the temperament, how well they go, how well they're on their legs, because the table is when you're like going to be doing your individual examination where you're looking for disqualifications and things that are breed specific to that breed, whether it's a border terrier and you're spanning and pelting, or whether it's a chin and you're assessing the shape and size of the eyes and the head, but that first go around, it's like, and I like them to do it one at a time so that you can really watch that dog, watch how it lands on its feet and how it carries itself, because that tells you a whole lot about that dog, its soundness, its temperament, its condition, and its outline. It's a first impression that's hard to come back from. I mean, it's like when they walk in and they own it, they own it.
Well, that would have been my follow-up question then is, so this is the first impression. Does that stick with you guys throughout the judging of the whole breed? Do those three first impression type things like on your mind the whole time that you're judging the
I mean, a lot of times you see something special come into the ring and you have a feeling in your gut that it's your winner as soon as you see it. But other times the first impression's not the last impression, because I want to give an animal time to find its bearing. Let's say you have a dog like a Chin that can be a little sensitive to noise, or it's not an experienced show dog and it comes into the ring and the tail's down. Now it's insecure, so the top line arches a little bit. That dog becomes a very different animal if it does get to the point that it relaxes and moves and carries itself properly. So that first impression, I'm willing to forgive it if they pull it together by the end of the competition.
Nice. What about you, Dale?
So your first impression is just that, but that's your shopping and stuff. You look at it and you go, "Oh, that catches your eye. That's flashy." Then you've got to go through. You got to look at on the individual examination. That's when you're going to tell condition. That's when you're going to tell the finer points of the breed, the hallmarks of the breed. When you get down on them and do their individual examination, you know they've got to bring the rest of it to them. Like bulldogs are a breed where they give like what 3 points for movement, so I mean they can go zipping on around the ring and look really, look flashy and all that, but if they don't have the hallmarks of the breed and the things that are the wheel back and the boat front and all that, this you're not gonna you it doesn't matter. You've got that gets you in the door, that gets you the interview, but you don't get the job until you go through your table exam, and then your individual down the back and stuff, and that's really when you start your breed specific evaluation.
Awesome. What's so like having experience being an exhibitor and a judge, you learn a lot on both sides of the fence, but what do most exhibitors misunderstand about what you guys do as judges?
I think a lot of exhibitors don't understand that judges are looking for virtues. They're not looking for faults. So it's easy from them ringside to see an obvious fault. Maybe a dog has a straight rear, but they don't know that I'm taking in the headpiece, the way if the dog is balanced in length to height, how the top line feels, how the dog moves. So maybe I forgive that straight rear, and then they equate that to, oh my gosh, this judge doesn't care about rears. Well, that's not the case. I'm looking for the dog with the most virtues, not the least amount of faults necessarily. Another misconception is, we're judging on the day. You can go to Honor Frio or Infodog and you see a big winner got beat on the day and you're like, how could that judge beat that dog? It's magnificent. Well, maybe that dog wasn't on his game that day. If it's a bitch, maybe she's in heat. So there's a lot of factors that go into judging that you don't necessarily see ringside that could be misunderstood. And a quick final point is we're also seeing and going over things on the table that the exhibitor doesn't see ringside. It's easy to be a ringside judge, but you may not see the bite that is undershot when it's supposed to be scissors, or that there's flecks of blue in the eye. So I think those are some of the common misunderstandings.
Hey, everybody. Sorry for the interruption, but I just need to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast network, wherever you're listening to this right now. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit a thumbs up button. Make sure you show us that you like this content, that we're doing good. Help us grow. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Now back to the show. No, that makes sense. What about you, Dale?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is that faults are like breaking the law. You have misdemeanors and you have felonies, and yes, you might have a fault, but you're going to go ahead and go, you've got to go, how is it a deal breaker? Is it for that breed? Is that a deal breaker? And so before, that doesn't mean, because the dog, it is like what Scott just said. It's the dog with the most right, not the dog with the least wrong, because that is, and you have to see the whole thing, and you do have to touch them, you have to put your hands on them, you have to get in there, and when someone sits outside the ring and just stares at something for, we've got 2.5 minutes, we have 2.5 minutes to get them checked in, checked off in the book. We have 2.5 minutes to get them to do an individual breed specific evaluation, 2.5 minutes to award them and give out the ribbons. So we're cutting through the chase. We haven't stared at them for 45 minutes while we're standing out there. It's 2.5 minutes. And to kind of go with that, I've had dogs that, because they're just like any other kind of little athlete. Some days they have an amazing performance and they just bring it. Like there have been dogs that I have put up for some really nice wins and that just looked amazing. And then the next time you have them, they're just not on their game. And whatever is like not right with them, and they're not moving right. They're not showing right. They're not holding their eyes open. And it breaks your heart because you're like, I know you can do better. I've seen you do better. And you like want to give you a chance to do better. But when you're not, I can't give you a 10 score when you're not bringing a 10 game. So that's why when you have won under a judge one time and you might not win under him the next time, or you might have lost, but you might win the next time, because there is that element of performance, and there's that element of that we're talking about living animals, and they have feelings and everything else, and how they're going to perform has a huge base on how they're going to place that day. And it's in the air. We've all had it. We've all had dogs that have been in the ring and we were like winning this. And then our dog said, we're not winning this. And the judges are going, please. And you're like, we're not doing this. The other day, one of my dogs just quit walking in the ring. He decided, I'm not doing it. He's like, call me an Uber. I'm not going to do it. It was his, okay. Judge had no choice. I mean, he was not playing that day. And so the next weekend he placed in the group all 3 days because he decided he wanted to walk that day. So that's the whole thing. You have a performance aspect to judging dogs that is the variable.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack in all of that. And one of the things that stood out to me, uh, you guys both mentioned it, were the qualities of the dogs and not the faults. And I think a lot of times when you're talking to exhibitors and professional handlers, a lot of advice that they give you is like, hide your dog's faults so the judge doesn't see them, hide them, and position your dog. How can you make your faults less faulty? And maybe instead of working on so much hard on hiding our dog's faults, we should see the qualities that our dogs have and work on accentuating them to the judge. Does that make sense? Is that something that would?
Absolutely. Show your dog to its best advantage.
Yeah, because you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear people talking about highlighting your dog's qualities. You see, this seems like the conversation goes more towards like hiding your dog's faults from the judge. But I feel like that's also discrediting the judges too, isn't it? Because the judges are professionals. You guys are going to see the faults, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to pick up on the faults, but you bring up a great point about show off your dog's strengths. And I have to say, Dale, I've been watching him for 20 something years. He's one of the best because, as is the case with almost all of his dogs, when they have a gorgeous headpiece, Dale will get his hands behind those dogs' heads and kind of almost like pointed at the judge like a beacon, like a flashlight, like, I want you to see this gorgeous headpiece. And he
Right.
does it at an opportune time when the judge is going down the ring. You'll see some handlers, it's showing off a strength. If you have a group in the ring and there's some weak top lines, when the judge goes down the lineup, they'll just sort of gently take their hand down the dog's back and say, look at this beautiful, smooth top line, the straight top line. So I'm with you, Tyson. Show off the strengths, bring your A game.
Yeah. No, it just seems to make sense.
Another thing is when you're in, and we're all fall prey to it, because you get in there and you're showing your dog and you're feeling competitive and you're wanting, the adrenaline's high, and it's easy to go ahead and show your dog in somebody else's game. So it's like if someone else is moving their dog fast, you move your dog fast because you're keeping up with it. And then they're going to move their dog a little faster. But you're not going to get left behind because they're not going to outmove me. And all of a sudden it becomes this foot race. And that's something that I think that you have to show your dog. So if your dog looks really good at a speed, move it at that speed. And if somebody else is faster, then either get behind them, give them space, move it at your dog's speed. If your dog looks good free baiting, you free bait. If your dog looks better hand stacking, you show your dog to its best advantage. Don't get caught up, because if everybody's standing and free baiting, but your dog doesn't do that real well, don't do it because all the other kids are doing it. It's your entry, it's your dog, it's your 2.5 minutes to tell me how great it is and why. And if you destroy your own dog, then you've got no one to blame but yourself. It's your moment. Take it.
Yeah. So, Scott, in your mind, what separates a nice dog from a best in show winning dog? Is it easy to spot when you see it?
Well, I'm going to go a little off script here because I was so happy you asked this question. This for me, I'm going to say dispel a myth. Maybe it's not a myth for anybody else, but it is for me, is you see this at every level and you often hear it at the best in show level where a judge will say, that dog asked for it. And I want to state no standard has ever said this dog should ask for it. And can a dog that is meant to serve, let's say you have a terrier that wants to catch that rat, or a working dog that wants to please its owner, or a herding dog that has a job, they can very much appear to be, air quotes, asking for it. A Chihuahua has this strong terrier temperament. They're full of piss and vinegar. The standard says they're supposed to be saucy. It's a great disservice. And, my heart is with Japanese Chin. It's a great disservice to a Japanese Chin and the group ring to say, I love that Chihuahua and that Chin. The Chihuahua asked for it. And now you're not comparing the Chin to its standard and the Chihuahua to its standard. You're comparing the Chin to the Chihuahua, and the Chin's never going to win that competition of looking adorable, wagging, barking at the precise moment the judge walks by. So this thing of asking for it, I just want to encourage anybody listening, try to stay away from that kind of mindset. To your real question, what separates a nice dog from a best in show dog is I think a nice dog can get by with some things a best in show dog cannot get by with. It can have off days. It can be out of condition, whether it's coat condition or body or muscular condition. A show dog, a best in show dog on that day is going to bring its A game. It's hopefully not going to put a foot out of place. It's going to feel really good under your hands. It's going to look good moving around the ring. And this is kind of a cop out, but it's true. A best in show dog just has a star quality. They make you want to look at them. It's kind of like a great film actor or actress. No matter what angle you catch them at, they always look good on film. You seem to always catch them with their feet in the right place. I know this is important to Dale, and it's something I've learned from him as I judge is, that best in show dog's going to always land on his feet in the right way. He's going to stop on his front. He's going to be like a four square dog. So I think those are some of the things that separate a good show dog from a best in show dog.
Yeah, and hopefully Dale's got some other things and doesn't have to steal your answers on everyone.
Yeah,
I know. He looked at my sheet beforehand. I know he just so I'm going to give you the answer that my mentor gave me because my first best in show with a Japanese Chin, and I had really no idea. I didn't even have pedigree on my dog. I mean, I'm just showing him because it's a cool dog and I liked him. And there were these big winning dogs in the ring. There's some of the best dogs of the day. This amazing Brittany named Code of the West. And there was one Michael Kemp had an amazing wire fox terrier that had won Westminster. I mean, these amazing, amazing dogs. And when Dorothy Nichols gave Tennessee Tuxedo his best in show, I just said, why? How? I mean, these are the most famous dogs out being shown. I mean, you surely are, really? This was before Ashton Kutcher jump out and go punked. And so I asked her, I said, why? How did you come up with this? I mean, I got the number written down. I got the ribbon. I'm not giving it back, but why? And she told me, I've seen a better one of those dogs in each of those breeds. I've seen something as good or better in each of those breeds. And I had never seen a Japanese Chin as beautiful as that. And she said, I judged him against his own. And I found him to be exceptional to his own standard. And I always thought to myself, that just totally shoots down the whole asking for it, comparing the dogs to one another. You're comparing each dog to its own standard. So you're not and if the Doberman can stand 10 feet away and do this amazing free bait, okay, that's very cool. But maybe that's not the same thing you're going to get the Bulldog or the Japanese Chin or something. Maybe that's not their game. But you have to go ahead and evaluate them to their standard. And I think that's what makes it. And then the next thing is the best in show dogs, they should make that standard come alive. When you've read that standard and you've seen the things in there, and they talk about an expression, a look, an ear placement, and temperament, and all these things, and you go, wow, those words just jumped off the page and are right here in this living, breathing thing. They embody that standard, and I mean, that's when you like, that's a really good one of these because it's got a star quality, and and that's what separates them out in their breed, that they make the standard come to life for you.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of times as exhibitors, we think more like we're going into a group ring and we're competing against all these other dogs. I mean, at the end of the day, we are competing against these dogs. We want that ribbon, that we want the blue ribbon when we're in the group ring. But to think about it in that aspect of my dog is competing against itself and in the breed, the Japanese chin standard, like that's a different mindset. And I think it's
You're
like a really
representing your
cool
people.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think again, when I read breed standard as an exhibitor or somebody newer as a breeder, I read the breed standard and I'm starting to picture things in my head as I'm reading the breed standard. But to think about it from a judge's point of view that's judging like a best in show, you're seeing the dog. Is that breed standard now popping out as you're looking at the dog? Are those words that are in the breed standard popping out? Like that's a good aspect to think about. I like that. That sounds good. It's kind of just the next step of what we do as exhibitors when we're thinking about these things, but almost reversing it. And I don't think if you're ever in that position, you really think about that. So that's good insight from both of you guys on that. Are there when you're judging and you're in the ring and you're judging a breed, are there hallmarks to every breed or certain breeds that are just like they're make or break for you? So, for an example, to kind of paint a picture for the audience, like we like short back on chin. We want them to be short, square. If you get a chin in there that's really long, is that like automatically disqualification or in your mind, not that it's a breed standard disqualification, but are there standards and hallmarks in the breed standards that's like, nope, make or break for you on a breed, Scott?
It depends on what's in the ring. There's things that are in my mind, as you said, are make or break, or in my own breeding program are make or break. But you can have a very disappointing day in the ring, and there can be chin in there with long backs, or the nose sticks out further than I like. But unless it's a DQ, which we just have the one in our breed, or something so onerous that I would have to withhold ribbons, it won't make or break me, but it might make or break my day or my mood when I have to pick the best of what may be a very average group. Kind of talking a little bit further about that, I do personally find long noses and long backs unappealing in our breed. And one thing for me in any breed, especially in a lot of the toys where, a Japanese chin was an aristocratic companion. Papillon is, described in the standard multiple times as fine-boned, as dainty. And when you have these animals that were the companions of aristocracy, they have silky coats, they're dainty, and they come in my ring with urine staining. I won't say it's a deal breaker, but it's very offensive because to me, it detracts from the purpose of this aristocratic, beautiful companion. And to end on a positive note, for me, what will really make my day in the breed, especially with the chin, is a correct head with proper expression, that short nose, that beautiful oriental gaze looking my way. That's going to melt my heart every time.
I'll steal. So it's this is probably taking the words right out of Dale's mouth, but I hear him say a lot like the degree of the deviation. So it's like if you got 5 chin in there and they're all long back, it's like, well, which one's the shortest of the long back? Like,
Right.
is it kind of go that way with all breeds? Is this like, don't really want them to have this, but they all have it. So like, what's the
Which has
best of the?
which has the greatest number of virtues?
Yeah. Go ahead, Dale.
So when you have a class, and I mean, it's like sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's like a dating app, and there are no good choices. So so I go, okay, well, and then at that point you go, should I just stay home? So if you when you go in there and look at, they used to have in those breed standards, they'd have scales of points, and some of the breeds still have them where they say, this is this many points and this is this many points. Like we're talking about the bulldog, and they're given 3 points for movement, and so you have to know where those areas of importance are with each breed, because when you're judging a breed, you're a guest in that breed. You're coming in, and unless it's a breed you've raised or you have like strong personal opinions on, they have to tell you, like in the standard, like what are the most important things. And when those qualities aren't there, that kind of cycles, those dogs are going to cycle down towards not as desirable in race. So you might have some things that are a deal breaker, like Cavalier King Charles Spaniel can't have a bad temperament. They have to have the tail moving. They have to be happy. They don't, it's just who they are. And if they don't have that, it's not a good one. It can't win. Just like, the chin, if it has unsymmetrical markings and not a good face, it can't win. There's no coming back from that. It's just a deal breaker. And so that's sort of sometimes where you got quality and you got deal breakers, and then you figure out where you fall in between. And it depends a lot on the day as to what you have, because sometimes it can be the best of a bad lot. And maybe there's some nice dogs there that didn't show well or whatever. And then you have to decide, can I in good conscience award this? Are these deserving to win? Because then that's a bad day for everyone when you have to go ahead and go, nobody's ready to be a show dog today. I'm sorry, I'm going to withhold. Where I do think that, like on some breeds where they can be in and out of coat, take, for example, chin. It's like whenever we have a summer national and then we come and everyone's dogs are bald. And I'm like, well, this was really a good plan, folks. No one's dogs have any hair. Yeah, I don't hold that against them being out of coat or out of condition, because that's normal for that breed. But being dirty, being skinny, you're disrespecting the dog, the judge, and the whole idea of promoting your breed. Clean is free. It takes very little skill to get them clean. I'm not a grooming, like the best groomed dog wins, but condition and cleanliness I think that's accessible to all. And I think that that's a standard that should be withheld. Bad condition, that gets close to a withholdable thing for me really fast, especially when it's people that know better.
Well, everybody should know better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think. One of the one of the questions that I've always had, and I thought about myself, because it's like you go into a group ring and it'll be like, oh, the judge of this ring, this group is, a big time Chihuahua breeder. And I never know how to feel. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, great, they're gonna pick the Chihuahua because they've been breeding Chihuahua for 30 years. Like I don't stand a chance. And then the other time I think, oh, well, maybe they're gonna be harder on the Chihuahua because they know the standard inside and out, and they're gonna be really tough on them. So, as judges, like, how do you guys handle breeds that you know really well that you've bred for years and years and years? So, obviously the chin, but are you harder on your breeds that you judge? So, in a group ring, are you harder on the chin, or does that tend to help because you're a chin breeder?
I'll answer it this way. In the breed ring, I'm not harder on the breed because I know it, because I have empathy. I've been there. So if somebody has their chin that wants to squint and not show me its wide of eye, or their tail drops, I can empathize with them, and I'm going to work with them in every way possible so that the dog can be shown to its best advantage. In the group ring, I'm not going to be harder on the chin because I bred them and I know them well. But on the other hand, I will never put up a chin in the group that I would be embarrassed and doesn't meet my vision of quality for the breed. So in that respect, I don't want to do that for any breed, but in a breed that you should know better for anything that you're approved to judge. But for my heart breed, a breed that I've bred over the years, it's going to have to be something that I will be proud if that picture is on Facebook and it has a group ribbon. In that respect, I probably would be harder on the dog.
What about you, Dan?
Well, So, it's a double-edged sword on that. So when it's a breed that you've had a lot of experience with, you know, and you see qualities in it that are hard to get, if there's something in there and you look at that and go, "Wow, that's a really good fill in the blank," and I know because 'cause I've seen a lot of them, then that's a big plus. That gives you a plus because if you have those things. But on the same token, if you're lacking in a key area that maybe you're counting on just showmanship and presentation to to overcome, the one that has deep knowledge of it, we're going to go, I don't care if it does parlor tricks and it can bait from 10 feet away. It's got a long nose, can't win. Even though somebody else might go ahead and go, wow, look at the way it showed. It really asked for it. I don't care. You know, but so you're harder on them in one respect because you know the criteria and you bring a little bit of a relentless criteria to them. It's like, I know this breed and I have a strong feeling for this breed and so I want these things, but then again, you are not going to be you're not going to be swept up in a campaign like, oh, this dog won all of this. Well, that's ducky. That's great. That doesn't have anything to do with it. Today this dog to not right now. So I think that it can go either way. If it's what they like, that's your advantage. That's the one thing I think people have as an advantage. If you've shown to a judge and if they're remotely consistent, you'll go, this judge likes fill in the blank. And if they're wanting head type, if they're wanting showmanship movement, if they want a size, a color, something that they like them to this, and if they're consistent in that, that's your edge is knowing what they tend to go for. And that, advantage.
Okay, so follow-up question that we're not prepared for. If you're judging best in show and a chin won the toy group and you see the dog and you're just like, what in the world? Who put that up? Like, do you if you're judging best in show and you're looking at these dogs that are in that ring, do you ever get feelings of like, how did that dog win that group? Does that ever cross your mind
But
at all?
yeah, I mean, not really, because I'll be honest with you, you don't know what they had in front of them. So maybe that was the best that they could come up with that day. But if that one's in the ring and it does look that unappealing as a best in show judge, whether it's my breed or not, it's just out of the running, no question.
So he's way nicer than I am because, when I think the hardest thing you can do is walk in and judge a group where you didn't pick the breed winners. That really does shuffle the deck because you might walk through there and go, I mean, there have been times I've walked in there and I'm doing a group and I didn't do any of the breeds. And I'll walk down the line. I'm like waiting for something to jump out at me. And I got to the end of the line and I feel like I should just keep going. you know, and then I'm going, "Well, you can't keep going. You're stuck in here. You gotta come up with this." And so then you kind of feel like you're at a rummage sale and you're gonna walk back through everything and go, "Well, maybe I need a garden hose, maybe there's something in here I can use," and you're gonna take a second look at it and go, and that's how sometimes, when we say this thing about how, it's what's in front of you there, you have to pick from what's there. And it probably involves in all politics or anything like that. You don't get to pick who you want. Sometimes you have to pick what's available to choose between A or B. And so if you didn't get any of the choices going into there, then you just have to pick the best of what's there. And tomorrow you may do the breeds and none of your group placements might even get a best of breed, you know, and that's where those can shape up. But you are really just in that moment you have what's in front of you, and those are your choices. And you have to look at those dogs to their standard, to what your mind's eye holds that to be.
No, that makes sense. Um, so you both started as exhibitors before judging, obviously. So then you get into judging, you get comfortable in that role. How has being a judge shaped the way that you exhibit your dogs when you go in as an exhibitor?
So I think when you judge, no matter how much you know or how much you think you know, you get free handling lessons every time you judge. And I get handling lessons and both things that I want to do and emulate, and then things I don't want to do. I mean, you'll see even some of the top handlers in the country, number one dogs in a group, they'll bait their dog when you're going down the lineup and their hand is obstructing the dog's face and expression. And you're like, yes, I need to remember not to do that. That's really annoying when I'm trying to look at a dog or they're putting food in its mouth on the table. What I pick up that has helped me is the best handlers, they don't panic. They don't rush. They don't rush their dog. Dale alluded to it earlier. Don't get caught up in a foot race. Don't let them pull you into their style of handling. And you will see a good handler. I mean, even the craziest thing can happen. The whole lead can come off and the dog's trying to get away from it. They recover. They're unflappable. And as a judge and getting to observe these things every time I judge, it's made me a better exhibitor. And it's made me a better exhibitor in the sense that I haven't been the kind of exhibitor that's juggling multiple dogs and keeping a judge waiting. But I think it makes me stay on my toes of be respectful of the steward, be respectful of the process. It's the judge's ring. So every time I judge, I come away with more learnings.
Absolutely.
So I think for me, I have a lot more empathy for the judge because I always kind of thought, wow, they're just gonna sit there and pretty dogs are gonna walk in a circle and they have their little cooler with their drink and this is awesome, right? And it's how easy is this, right? It's not. It's not. You were in the lobby at 7 to be in the ring at 8 and you might not be out of there until 5:30 and you might not get any kind of a break and you have people all day, you have no downtime. And so I think I have a little bit of empathy towards people that have like been doing this all day long and so I mean I want to be on time for them. I don't want them to spend their 2.5 minutes per dog waiting for me. I want to be like, if they're going on a lunch break and they've been, and that's like, with a lunch break, which is code for, I want to go to the bathroom first, and all that. I'm not going to run over there and go, can I get a picture now? I mean, be just like a little bit like, knowing what they have had to do to be there. And they probably traveled the whole day before, got stuck in an airport somewhere, got into their hotel late. It's all, so, I mean, I do have a lot more respect for exactly what the judges go through to be there. And that's one thing. And I think I have a little bit more, you know, it's their opinion. And like Jane always says, every dog show's wrong. They're all wrong answers because they have to do it all over again the next day. It's a whole nother set of opinions. So I don't get too upset anymore. It's like, well, I didn't win. Okay. You know, maybe tomorrow, and I think that has changed my perspective a little bit where I've seen dogs that I thought were just like, wow, that dog is so good. And then I'll be the only one in 4 days that'll put it up. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a no brainer, you know, and, it's an opinion and you have to take it for, I mean, we tend to like the opinions that favor us or that we agree with. But I think that the idea of having to respect a different point of view, just kinda like maybe someone's looking at something differently, and that doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean they're right either, but have to give them the respect of their opinion. And okay, you don't have to agree with it. It's fine. No problem. We all have an opinion, and it's up to you to decide if you think that if it's germane to you and your dog.
Yeah, that makes sense completely. Do you guys, do you believe or feel that judges can shape breed direction? And I guess just to kind of paint a picture with that, just talk about, just think about Tri Japanese Chin, is like wasn't really a recognized color. Then it did, whenever it became a recognized in the United States, it was like not very popular and everything like that. And then you have somebody that, at some point a judge gave a tricolor Japanese chin a best in show. And now, one of the most winning Japanese chin in history is a tricolor. Can judges really affect how breeds develop long term?
Oh, Unquestionably. I mean, they can influence breed direction in a positive way, as you've stated. I mean, chin of color, winning more and more. I mean, hell, chin period placing in groups. I mean, when I started, you get a group 3 and it would be like cause for everybody in the country would know that a chin took a group 3 seriously. If you won one group, it was considered almost a career accomplishment. It made the career of the dog. I also think judges can shape breed direction for the negative. I mean, you get a breed like an Affenpinscher, and the standard's very clear. It says this dog should be neat but shaggy in appearance. And then you get handlers that start to sculpt them and spray them, and they look like little sculpted statues. That not only changes the direction of the breed in the sense of how it's presented, but in some cases, it can change the direction of the breed and what the breeders start breeding for. I'm going to go for an exaggerated neck, even though my standard says medium length. I'm going to go for the super long swan-like neck because that's what looks good inside gate in the ring and the judges are putting up. So you're undoing the standards as they were written. So when judges reward those incorrect examples of a breed or an incorrect presentation of a breed, it shapes the future of the breeds. It's a tool. It's a double-edged sword. Hopefully you use it for good, not to make a breed something it's not meant to be.
I think that there is an inordinate amount of influence by what is winning in the show ring, setting the fashion or the type for the breed. And I can give like 3 examples of that. Uh, American Cocker Spaniels started out with coat about like a Cavalier. You look at this Cavalier, the Cocker Spaniels that won Best in Show at Westminster, and they had coat about like you would think of as a Cavalier. And then the dogs with way more hair and way more hair and way more hair, started coming in, dominating the winning, dominating the ranks. It got where what could have been a Best in Show dog at Westminster now no longer could make a championship because the standard's the same, but the interpretation of what it takes to make that dog the standard has changed. The breeder's responding like, I want to win. So I'm not, if I go ahead and my standard says this, but this is what's winning. Well, it's not much fun going to a dog show if you're not competitive. And, everybody goes to show, doesn't go there. They're not just going to pick it and make a social statement. They're going to win. And they want their dogs to win and be desirable. So you're going to follow those fashions and those trends and how those go. I see like in Cavaliers, I saw some of these big winners, and now they have hair touching the ground. And I think that is so wrong. They have so wrong. I saw a dog that was actually named Fluffy. There's nothing about a Cavalier should be fluffy. That is so wrong. It would be like, naming a half-mast chin, like a patch. I mean, no, they need to be, so when that is rewarded because of grooming and presentation and judges going, well, that's impressive to look at because more is better. And then you can get things where breeds can become a single issue voter. You can make like with Chin, we had a big round with eye white because we had some people that were promoting extreme eye white. And that was really easy to see. And judges would come in there and go, well, that one has eye white, these others don't. So this is the winner. No matter if you had better head type, better this. And even though it wasn't even correct to the standard, it was an interpretation of the standard, a recent interpretation of the standard. It swept into the breed and it shaped the breed. And we saw a radical increase in wall-eyed, cream-eyed dogs that were just like, like little googlies. And it went, and that really did. I watched the breed go from one look all the way to another, and now it's coming back. And because people have said, yeah, that's not right. That's not right. I don't say that's right. And that comes a lot with your judge's education from your clubs and all that. So, fads and things like that and the winning dogs absolutely can change the whole direction of a breed. and they can change the look and I mean, for good or for bad, but fads are seldom good because there's an innate quality that goes with the breed that should follow. Because I think that's a little bit like, we're a gatekeeper. We've got to keep this on there. So if toy poodles are supposed to be 10 inches tall and we start awarding poodles that are 11 inches tall, then we're disregarding that. And then all of a sudden people are going to go, well, 11-inch one, how about 11 and a half? I mean, and you have to maintain that. And I mean, and it's just, it's a part of a responsibility. I think you have a responsibility as a judge to promote the path of the breed as to what the standard calls for.
And that just goes, I mean, that just seems like it just keeps going to knowing the standard. I think exhibitors themselves, even if you see a trend going, that we should be trying to stick as close to the standard as possible and showing these judges too what right looks like with the standard instead of trying to follow the trend. But like you said, we all want to win. So if we're seeing a trend going on in our breed that's getting put up, we're going to start probably following that because we want to win. That's just
Sure.
human nature.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that can shape things, but it's that's the truth. We all want to win. So if we start seeing people out there with straightening irons on their Japanese chin, that's a wash and wear breed. We're going to start taking straightening irons. It's just
Where does it say in the standard that it is a wash and wear breed? I didn't see that part.
It's a
Is that a
wash-
new part?
yeah. All right.
That's the Tyson.
Are there any trends that you guys see in the confirmation ring that are concerning to you?
I mean, I think we've touched on most of them already. It's just over grooming, over sculpting, over trimming for breeds that the standard specifically says. I mean, I think the Cavalier standard says over trimming, over grooming shall be so severely penalized as to remove from competition or from consideration. That's a trend. I think people have complained about it for years, but it just keeps taking the next step up as there's better technology, better grooming tools, better products. Over grooming, over sculpting it's a continuing trend. I don't know if it's a new trend, but it's a continuing trend.
I kind of feel like that there is so many shows that it's like, how can we have like junior handlers showing and junior showmanship on a Wednesday show and a Thursday show? I mean, when there's school going on, how is this happening? You know, and when the last year Jane and I special to dog ourselves, in 2000, we did 100 shows. It was all weekends. And so I've had maybe a couple of 3-day weekends, but mostly weekends, couple of 1-day shows. But now you can do 100 shows by July, easy. And I think that there is like this, we're showing dogs before they're ready because we don't need to have them ready anymore because there are just so many shows. And I had an observation, and I was the fourth day of a 5-day because there was 2-in-a-day shows, and I had done a specialty breed. And the rep said to me, "What did you think of your entry?" And I said, "I felt like I was in the Golden Corral after a whole busload of people had gone through there. And there was a few pieces of dehydrated broccoli left and it was well picked over. Everything that was like good finished in the first 4 of this 5 times they were judged. So when you judge the same set of dogs 5 times in 4 days, you're going to start to see, you know, the quality, the better ones are going to finish and fall off, and everything is going to finish because you're going to have these massive numbers of shows right there. And we're going to judge these dogs over and over and over again. And sometimes these dogs will show 4 and 5 times in one day. I mean, by the time they do group or handler group, something concurrent, I mean, it's a lot of showing of these dogs. And I kind of wonder if that's really the best for the dogs. I'm not sure about that. And I know that it doesn't do the best for the quality of the dogs.
It definitely wears them out. I learned that lesson very early in my show career when uh, we had a toy specialty and then a kennel club all breed in the same day. So it was like You're going in the ring in the morning for the toy specialty. Then you're going, you win that. You're going into group for there. Then you're going in the all breed ring group owner handle. I was in the ring like 6 times that day. And it was just like by the last couple times, it was just like you feel like you're dragging the dog and having them do something they don't even want to be doing. And then it's just like, but they don't. They're wore out. They're exhausted. They had a long day.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I can definitely see that.
It's as much mental as physical too. It's like an athlete when they're waiting to hit the field, or if it's a tennis tournament and you're waiting for the match before you to finish, and just the waiting and sitting, that expends a lot of energy in humans and in dogs. They'll say, well, your chin just walked around the ring twice. How is it tired? And you're like, because they're in this trolley all day, they're hearing this noise, just the stress of being in this environment, it's exhausting for them.
There's
because
no
they walked around the ring 2 times, and when they're at home, they don't walk at all. Like they lay on the couch all day long.
Yeah.
This is the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, you both mentioned something that I've thought about a lot that I guess aggravates me a little bit, is like you see people, like Dale mentioned it, that we're showing dogs at a younger age when maybe they're not ready, and then you see the people bragging about, oh, I got my championship on this dog by 9 months old, and now you see the dog and it's 2 years old, and it's like, how the hell did that even get a champion? Because they change so much, they're not matured into that level
Cute,
yet.
fluffy,
You get the cute fluffy puppies winning breed and finishing in a weekend, and then they don't mature into an actual high quality show dog.
Our first 60-some champion Cavaliers, I think we had one finished all the way, all 15 points from the puppy class. And because there was always open animals, there was always mature dogs. So you had to have a really nice puppy if it was going to compete against those very mature dogs. And you'd have to have a judge that was very confident to go with that puppy, because, ooh, that's kind of like, and then they go, wow, they're crazy. They're like, they look at puppies, Well, heck, if you have a decent, I don't even mean really good, decent puppy, your decent puppy will be finished long before it gets to open class. It's nothing for dogs to finish from puppy class. Now it's pretty much the norm. Actually, it's more rare to go into an open class and have something really beautiful. I mean, unless it's an import or something like that. The open class is usually either dogs that haven't finished because they didn't make it through there, or something like, I put an open dog up that for a big breed win in California, and I thought, wow, this is well, come find out it was from Canada. It was nationally ranked number 1 in their breed in another country. And so that kind of thing, that's the only time we really see super strong open classes, is where if it's a special from somewhere else that's now in there. And that's something we used to see. Open classes used to be really strong, and they're really not.
And that's like, as new as I am, I'm post COVID, when we have a ton of shows all the time, and you finish dogs from puppy classes really easy, like we're talking about. So when I go in the morning and I'm getting my number and I'm looking at the catalog and I'm like, oh, there's an open bitch in this show. It was like the first place my mind goes to is like, probably not a very good dog if she's in open and hasn't finished yet.
Right. That's sad.
She's over 18 months and hasn't finished yet. This is not going to be a good dog. Like that's where my mind goes to right away, because that's where it is now. That's where we're at. And not necessarily, but for the most part, that's where we're at with open dogs. And so, like, yeah, that's definitely changed over the years, and something that I don't want to sit here and say like something I wish I would see change, but sometimes I wish we'd see some of these dogs mature a little bit more before we got into the show ring, instead of, oh, they're 6 months old, let's get them finished by 8 months, and then they're hitting into our breeding program, and
It's a lot of shows, so it's just a lot
Yeah.
of shows. I mean, it's you go for a weekend and you're going to walk out with 4 or 5 opportunities to show your dog on one weekend, and if you have the best dog on that weekend, you'll probably come back finished or very near.
Yeah. All right. I got 2 more questions, and then we'll do a rapid fire round where you guys can just answer them real quick, and we'll wrap this episode up. So the second to last question, as a judge, what makes an exhibitor memorable to you when they're in the ring?
technically what makes them memorable are quiet hands on the dog and good pacing. They understand what's going to show off the dog to its best advantage. Even within their own breed, it can be different for different examples of the same breed. From a human perspective, they're memorable to me when they have a kindness, when they can laugh, when they can smile, when they can laugh at themselves if something goes awry. Just being human, being real, being a good sport, win or lose, and bringing a sincerity to the ring. And by that, I mean sincere. They're there that day because they hopefully think they have the best dog, and they're bringing a sincere joy to the ring. They want to do well, and bringing a sincerity in just how they interact in the ring with the judge. They're not trying to make fake conversation or flatter you or try to sway your decision. Just being a real person with good skills, a ready smile on your face, gets along with the competitors. I'm going to remember that exhibitor and really appreciate them.
What I really enjoy seeing is somebody that is self-aware with their dog. So if you can't get down and show your dog, some people can get on the floor, sack it up. If that exhibitor, I watch people in there that, because before Jane had her hip replacement done, I was like, wow, you're really training their. I mean, all of a sudden our dogs are getting all this training. I'm like, going, wow, what happened here? And it's like, she's like, well, I can't bend down. So she made a big point of, if you can't bend down, you can't. So even as a judge, I kind of like be aware of my exhibitor's limitations, and how that, and letting them show their dog within their skill set. So, have them show their dog that to its best advantage as they can do it. And everybody's going to bring a different level of presentation skill. So I really admire someone that comes in that will show a dog in a scooter. If they have put the work in that they can make their dog show in the scooter, yeah, hats off. No, lots of respect. I think that's really amazing. And I mean, not to be self-embarrassed or anything like, go in there, show your dog, do the best you can, present your dog to its best advantage. I really that to me is that's a real true dog person. And then of course someone that I mean, they don't, the winner, the losers are never going to agree, and that's okay. But people that can go ahead and not go nuclear because they didn't win. It's like, well, maybe I'll win next time, or that kind of thing. It's like, it's not personal, you know, it's just not for me. Doesn't mean it's not even really good, you know, but it's just not for me, and not have to, it not where it's not personal. It's just about the dogs. I find that those people are really quite lovely, and I enjoy them very much as we kind of go through the whole thing together. They're great people, and I think they're huge assets to their breeds, when they do that.
Yeah. What's one mistake that you see exhibitors making consistently?
I'll share a quick, hopefully I'm giving fairly succinct answers. So I'm going to take a little time and share a mistake that I made when I first became a judge, because the orientation being a judge rather than an exhibitor is totally different, and you're managing a lot of tasks and responsibilities. But I'd been showing for 20 something years, and I'd go in the ring and I'd have a big lineup of dogs, and I would want to send them around, and I would say, okay, let's go around together, keep some space between you, please. And the first person in the lineup would speak out and say, are you ready? And I would respond, yes. And it took me about 4 or 5 shows to realize they were speaking, as I've seen a million times, to the exhibitor behind them. Are you ready? To give them the courtesy of they're going to take off in the line. And I feel like an idiot, but it's only fair to share a mistake I made before I tell you what I see in exhibitors. I've already touched on this, but a lot of obscuring the dog with a lot of baiting, a lot of extraneous hand movements, flourishes that distract me and take away from the dog rather than helping the dog. Stacking your dog towards you instead of towards the into the ring or towards the judge. So when I walk down the lineup, the little dog is looking up at the owner or angled towards the owner instead of to the judge. And a pet peeve and a mistake in any breed, but especially in my breed, the Japanese chin, is don't drag a scared dog you're not, if the tail's down and it's not walking, you're not going to win that day anyway. So don't force the poor animal. Don't drag it. Be aware. Some people just start walking forward and they're not aware of their dog and the dog's being drugged and they don't even know it. And and again, as Dale alluded to earlier, he really respects an aware handler. If you see that your dog's not confident, it's not feeling well, don't even walk it through the gates to get into the ring. Pick it up and set it down and make it feel secure and happy. So I think mistakes are mistakes made that people aren't even aware they're making. So I think they need to be more aware of their surroundings and of their dog. And
All very, very true. The only thing I would add to that is I think that the biggest thing is, especially if you haven't shown to a judge before, maybe take a hot minute out and go watch them do a breed and get like, what do they do? How does this judge do this? And so if you go watch someone do this, and I watch them, I go, well, you know, Mr. Toney brings them in catalog order. Well, then I'm going to be, listen for the numbers. I'm going to know my number. And when they call them in, I'm going to, get in catalog order. And if they're going to, listen to the judges, just, instructions, watch how they're doing it. And so, where you're starting your lines and how, because your ring pattern and ring procedure is essentially going to be the same all day long. And so there should be no surprises. And the other thing is, and I see this all the time. People, they'll have something that they'll go second in the class with, and they'll come back in with another, exhibit to compete for winners. Well, leave that second place armband and have somebody, friend or foe, and say, this one went second. If the class winner goes up for winners, please bring it back in. I mean, when you have to stop the music and then you have to go find who handled the second place dog and get the armband off of them, and then they have to like draw straws to who's going to bring it back in. You're knocking time out of our 2.5 minutes that I want to give you to show your dog. I part of the 2.5 minutes I want to give you when you need to run an extra pattern because your dog got a case of the zoomies. So have that little extra preparedness there where, hey, this one's going to go in. This one might have to go in it went second. It might have to go in for reserve. Let's not bury it too deep. Let's keep a leash handy. Let's have the armband somewhere near the dog. That's that goes a long ways. And just having that, and I think that gives you like an edge, where the preparedness of having that ready for those wins, like, or if you have the next dog in the next class, have it ready. It's like going, and maybe even mention to the steward, I'm in the next class as well. So they're not sitting there screaming 12, 12, 12, I'm being a little proactive with that. I think those are really good things. And, it helps your dog, it helps you, it helps the judge. It's just a win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That all makes sense to me. All right. So that'll wrap up our intense questions. This is just more kind of personal, fun questions. So we'll just rapid fire these questions. Again, we'll just start with Scott, and then Dale can answer too. So, what's your favorite breed to judge?
I won't be PC and say I don't have a favorite, so I'll give you a real answer. I cannot judge a Chihuahua without getting a joy in my heart. They just tickle me every time. And two-part answer, I am endlessly fascinated by the many, many, many unique Oriental features of the Shiba Inu, and I see something cool about them every time I judge.
So I really enjoy with there's deep quality. I can get really excited about almost anything if there's deep quality, if I have choices. Because so many times you go through, you'll look at an entry of dogs and you'll get 1, 1, 1, 1, and one of those ones isn't going to walk and the other one's absent. And so you're just like going, well, but when you go in and have choices and you can sit there and pull dogs out and start working them and comparing them and you have choices, that really gets my adrenaline up. I love it when I have options and things to compare. But the brachycephalics, I think, are amazing. I like the details and all of that. Those are wonderful breeds with fun details and stuff. So those are all my favorite breeds.
What's your favorite group in general to judge?
For me, toy group's my favorite, the one I'm most confident about. I'm still in the, relatively early stages of judging. Sorry, two-part answer. And the non-sporting group freaking fascinates me because you get a little bit of everything in there. From some people call it dismissively the catch-all group, but I think it's just a treasure trove of different types of breeds and purposes. So that's just a joy as well.
Yeah, I think that when you go into so your sporting dogs, it's exciting to see the movement. It's exciting to watch those dogs go, and I mean they're like athletes, and that's very cool. You know, the toys are just all about this very breed specific type, and that's very fun. You know, I mean, like I say, of course, I'm a toy sporting dog person. I love spaniels and stuff like that, and I like the feel of those dogs. But if there's deep quality, you can have a good time anywhere.
Yeah. What's the most difficult breed to judge, in your opinion?
It's the breed that you're least prepared for, and hopefully you do go in prepared, and it's the breed that the exhibitors entrust you with a large quality entry, and you know damn well that you want to do right by those people and reward their trust in you by doing a conscientious job and rewarding the best specimens that day. That's difficult, and when you do it well, it's a great feeling.
What I have the biggest thing that just like kind of tears my guts out is veterans class in any breed. When I see those dogs, these are people's heart dogs. This is a dog someone's kept in condition, and they're bringing this, and they might not even be competitive anymore because the ravages of time. It's like you go to a race and you see the 21-year-old is not running the same race as the 61-year-old, but you still see the heart and the spirit, and they're really maybe not. I don't know. I really have. It's like I imagine what those dogs looked like when they were young and vital and fresh, and I don't know. I just think the veterans class. I think it can be a hard one because I mean you're looking at dogs that are barely 7, and one walks in and it's 13, and its eyes are cloudy, and and it's at the end of its if it's at the end of its game, but they put that lead on it, and you still see that spark when they throw themselves up. I mean, you just kind of get a lump in your throat, like, oh, look at that dog go. I mean, it's still got game. And so, but at the end of the day, you have to give the ribbon for there, and sometimes but your heart goes with those.
Yeah. This is probably a pretty easy question, but maybe one of you will surprise me. What's your favorite breed to show as an exhibitor?
Yeah, despite showing of having helped people show a few other breeds, it's Japanese chin. When it all comes together and you get a big win, you just feel like a little bit of magic happened because it's not always easy.
When they cooperate with you, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, when you have the show the little bad boys. Uh, the highs are really high because you've had the agony of defeat when they decide they didn't want to walk. But I enjoy. Sometimes I like really enjoy a breed that you can get out and run with. I mean, you can really, I mean, because when you see someone out there like moving a dog, it's so choreographed. I mean, they know where in the speed they need to hit the corners at, where they're going to slow down. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, and you can really figure your timing out on that. I think that's some skill of presentation that it's really can be enjoyable. But anytime you're showing a dog that's hard, I mean, could put sail down, might not stand on the table. I mean, and it goes well. It's such a high.
Yeah.
It's feeling.
Yeah. I feel like in the toy, like Japanese chin and stuff, it's like they're so stubborn. It's just like if you can get 5 of the 6 things that you need to do, if you can nail 5 of the
Winning.
6, it's like, holy crap, this was a great day in the ring, And so
Exactly.
it's like you just feel so good, and you're on such a high of like my dog walked, my dog stacked, my dog stood on the table, like everything just went good. It is such a high when you can nail that.
You should
So
want to buy a lottery ticket. You're having a moment.
exactly. And they
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, they didn't piss their kennel or any, anything like that. It's like, this is a great day. We did it. All right. Last question. One word that defines a great dog.
So if I separate 2 words with a slash, we'll call it one word.
Hyphen, yeah.
Type/balance. Yeah, type/balance. You have to have both.
Okay. Yeah.
Your dog. Your dog is a great dog. I mean, it's the dog that got you there. It's the dog that got you up. It's the dog that maybe you raised, you bought, you stole, however you got it. I mean, and it's the dog that keeps you coming back. So your dog's a great dog.
I'm gonna need a tissue. No, I'm kidding.
Dale pulled out a lot of the heart dog, and
Exactly.
he pulled out a lot of
Yeah.
the heartstrings today. I'm not used to
Yeah.
that.
There
All
is a
right.
heart that beats beneath that exterior.
Despite what said.
Yeah, despite the rumors, Dale, you
Yeah,
sure do
yeah,
have a
right?
heart in there. It grew 3 sizes today. And there we go.
That's not the way.
All right, everybody. Thanks, Scott, for joining us on this episode
Yeah,
of the TACBox
awesome.
Yeah,
Podcast.
thanks for having
Great.
me.
Yeah, and it was awesome to have you on here. Come back anytime. And for all the listeners, subscribe. Make sure that you like us and follow us. Let us know what you think about having Scott on here. If you got any other recommendations of people you want to hear from, let us know. And until we talk to you guys, episode 50 next week with Jane. So don't forget that. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
If you've made it this far, you've made it to the end of the podcast, and we extremely appreciate you for listening to the whole episode. It helps us grow. It shows the algorithms that you're engaged with the TACBox Podcast. You're the best of the best, and we appreciate it. Don't forget, we come out with a new episode every Wednesday, and we would love for you to continue to join us. Also, hit us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, the TACBox Podcast. We have the page. Like it, and send your questions in. Help us grow.